Hello everyone. Welcome to another Ancient and Medieval Adventures Camp video. Today, we will be learning about tombs and sarcophagi in ancient Egypt. We will take a look at where Egypt is, the pyramids that the ancient Egyptians built, the tombs at the Valley of the Kings, and then we will talk about the importance of the sarcophagus and some of the art that decorated it. Let's get started. The land of Egypt is quite far away from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. In fact, the distance from Saskatoon to the Egyptian city of Cairo is 9,993 kilometers. Egypt is a country on the continent of Africa. It has been around for thousands of years. Let's take a closer look. Liked to settle by the water because it made growing food and keeping animals so much easier. The river running through Egypt is called the Nile. The pyramids and the tombs for the pharaohs were built on the west side of the Nile because the ancient Egyptians associated the west direction with death. Did you know that there are still 118 pyramids standing in Egypt today? The pyramids in ancient Egypt were giant stone structures that were built to serve as tombs for the pharaohs when they passed away. The pyramid's smooth, angled sides symbolized the rays of the sun and were designed to help the king's soul ascend to the afterlife and join the gods, particularly the sun god Ra. Pyramids didn't always have smooth sides, though. In fact, the oldest pyramid ever built in Egypt was stepped. Instead of smooth sides, it looked like stairs climbing upwards. This pyramid was built in 2670 BCE, more than 4,000 years ago for the pharaoh Djoser. The most recognizable pyramids, though, are the pyramids at Giza. The Great Pyramid was built by Pharaoh Khufu in 2600 BCE. It was the world's tallest structure for over 3,800 years. Surely a pyramid that is around 450 feet tall would have lots of space inside for treasure and gold, right? Actually, the pyramids were mostly solid stone, with only a few tunnels and chambers inside. The pharaohs didn't always build pyramids as their tombs, though. Eventually, pharaohs stopped building pyramids and instead built tombs underground. This is an example of a tomb from the Valley of the Kings. This is a modern photograph, but you can see that the entrances to these tombs were cut directly into stone, although some larger tombs had more elaborate entrances. There are currently 63 tombs that have been uncovered in the valley. Some famous and well-known pharaohs are buried here, like King Tutankhamun, whose tomb is in this image. King Tut reigned from 1328 until 1319 BCE. He came to the throne when he was only 8 years old and died when he was 19. Can you imagine becoming a king at 8 years old? King Tut's tomb is particularly famous because it was left mostly untouched. When it was discovered in 1922, the team of archaeologists realized that while the tomb had been robbed twice before, the robbers only took a few small objects from the tomb. What remained was one of the richest burials ever found. In the image on the left, you can see the archaeologists taking a look at the mummified body of King Tut, all encased in gold. Egyptians often mummified their dead. They believed that your life continued after you died, so it was important to preserve your body. Pharaohs and nobles weren't the only people to be mummified, but the expensive costs of mummification meant that it was not a possibility for most commoners. However, mummification was still widely understood to be necessary for one's journey into the afterlife. The journey to the Egyptian afterlife began with mummification. A person was mummified by a team of priests who removed every organ in the body except for the heart, which was thought to be the center of intelligence and memory. The body was then stuffed with salt called natron and left for 40 days. Afterwards, the body was washed and wrapped with many long strips of linen cloth. These wrappings sometimes contained charms for protection, including a heart scarab amulet. Priests performed special religious ceremonies at the tomb's entrance before the mummy was buried. We can see in this image one of the ceremonies taking place. It was called the opening of the mouth. A priest touched various parts of the sarcophagus with a special instrument to open those parts of the body. They believed that this allowed the person to regain their senses in the afterlife. By touching the instrument to the mouth, the dead person could now speak and eat in the afterlife. The sarcophagus was sealed and shut and placed inside the burial chamber. Sarcophagi were a very important part of Egyptian burial practices. So let's take a look at what a sarcophagus is. The sarcophagus was used to hold the mummy. Sometimes, both the inside and the outside of the sarcophagus was decorated. It was usually decorated with the name and title of the person written in hieroglyphics, a list of food offerings to be made to the gods, and a face for the mummy to see. Depending on the wealth of the individual, it was fashionable to be buried in either 1, 2, or 3 different sarcophagi. Multiple sarcophagi could be nested inside one another. Sometimes the sarcophagus was decorated with other elements as well. This sarcophagus has been decorated with the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus was often a symbol associated with the pharaohs. Horus was an Egyptian god of the sky and was represented as having the head of a falcon. The line that goes across the top of the Eye of Horus represented the eye of the falcon. This symbol was thought to ward off evil, so it became commonplace to place this symbol on a sarcophagus. Another symbol that was often carved into the sarcophagus was the Ankh symbol. This symbol was also carved into the tomb walls of pharaohs, like in this photo. The Ankh represented life, so the gods would often be shown giving life back to the pharaohs in the afterlife. In the Egyptian afterlife, you needed all the items that you had in your life on earth. Living your best afterlife meant that in Egyptian tombs, a lot of objects were buried alongside the sarcophagus. These objects were often the things a person enjoyed and used most in life, including chariots, gold, jars with wine, statues, and scrolls with instructions on how to get to the afterlife. A lot of thought and care went into preparing Egyptian tombs and sarcophagi. Thanks for watching. We hope that you learned something new about Egyptian tombs and sarcophagi. Make sure to head over to our WordPress site, where you can find additional videos, craft content, and more. Check out some of our Egypt-themed crafts. You will find the craft supplies and sticker packs to decorate your own sarcophagus in your Ancient Adventures pack. You can also practice wrapping a mummy to put inside. Get crafting!